Hay fever season. The best reason on earth to have multiple takes. Here we go. Stove water. At one time, I used to be a stovey, a fettler. I'm coming out of the closet or out of the tent. I used to make stoves. I used to make them for burning alcohol. I used to repair only a few of them that did kerosene and also gasoline. Gasoline I don't like repairing. But all of them had an interesting effect if you put them underneath a cold pot of water or a cold object. This was a test I did to make sure it wasn't just the water. If they're burning efficiently enough, they're going to be mixing the oxygen in the air, just nitrogen and oxygen, but the oxygen from the air with a hydrocarbon. That means a hydrocarbon contains hydrogen and carbon. The mixture will cause hydrogen and oxygen compounds like water, and hydrogen and carbon compounds like carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. And any engine or burning system of any kind that's trying to be very efficient, use less fuel, liberal, communist, whatever you want to type down in the, just keep typing, will waste fuel less. It's better for everybody. It's good for you. It should be mandated. Same thing with the scrubbers to get rid of the mercury from your coal-fired plants. Start typing. And also jet engines that are being efficient, including high bypass ones, which do produce more contrails. They will produce more water vapor and more carbon dioxide mix that's cleaner. This isn't because the airlines are being nice, it's because they're cheap bastards. They can carry less fuel and get away with it, or carry more fuel and have a better margin. What they do is they design the airplane to have a certain maximum capacity that they don't exceed. And I mean, they literally try to figure out as much as they can pack into the plane as possible. They're not being altruistic in any way. And they figure out what the minimum fuel requirement is. Then they have to balance it and figure out how little fuel they can take. And if they never get up near the maximum level, they have plenty of fuel. They know what their max range is. Running out of fuel while flying an airplane is one of the most miserable and stupid ways to die. And any aircraft pilot wants to avoid that. The airlines want to avoid that too. And they're cheap bastards. Ergo, let's use more efficient engines. And they do. And they have to be efficient at the altitude they have to be at. The altitude they work at, and again, if you're doing the blue flame analogy for gasoline, kerosene, or alcohol, or a car engine, it's going to produce water vapor. The exhaust pipe on many of your cars during cold weather, but not just cold weather, sometimes warm weather, will produce little drops of water. You can actually test that. You don't have to go up in an airplane and test a contrail to determine it's a contrail. You can look at the contrail from boats over a river. That they produce exhaust that does the same thing, over the ocean as well, and your car. And you can watch lots of videos of 18-wheelers going down the road on a cold day, not anywhere near cold enough that you might think it needs to be, producing a vapor trail behind them. I had somebody claiming a lot of things about contrails aren't possible because it has to be hundreds of degrees below zero or something. But they have a video on their own channel of another trucker they know personally that isn't chemtrailing the area with their engine, going down the road, and it's producing a contrail. It's a temporary one, but that doesn't matter. They're burning a lot less fuel than a jet aircraft does. So make it more efficient. Yes, high bypass engines will be more efficient, and it will produce less likelihood of producing pollution. The trails you're able to see are less dangerous than the trails you can't. And if someone is trying to secretly spray you, why would they make it fucking visible? And why did the U.S. government spend so much time trying not to have visible contrails coming out of an airplane? And why did they stick a little mirror on the outside of the U-2 spy plane so that the guy could change altitude and try to keep from making a contrail that points at his dumbass so that they could shoot him down? That's what it was there for. It's been a problem for a long time. You can look up videos and film and photos of old-style planes and planes in old days producing contrails. And they can happen at ground level because it happens every time an airplane takes off. You can see it form a contrail on the ground. And you can make up all the lies you want to and start keyboard pounding. And yell liberal or commie because I want fuel-efficient engines and higher safety standards because somehow that fucking pisses off a specific variety of human that I don't even know what species you are. Now that I've thoroughly ticked everybody off, hit that subscribe and like button. So let's go on. The exhaust contrails usually form when air temperatures are under 34 degrees Fahrenheit below 0 Fahrenheit. I'm not going to do Celsius, to hell with Celsius. And this is at altitudes usually above 26,000 feet. And, coinkydinky, you might want to look up how high you have to go to get above Everest. Planes tend to try to fly so high they can't run into anything that's over the altitude of Everest. They can also form when the air is cold or moist or both, closer to the ground or on the ground, or at sea level or below sea level. You can just have moist air. Even a moving object can form a contrail. A helicopter blade doesn't have an engine attached to it, and it'll produce a contrail once in a while. Same thing with propeller blades. You can look this up, or refuse to, or make excuses. Next. It should be pointed out that airplanes normally fly at 31 to 38,000 feet, where it's 45 or 65 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. That's a lot colder than it needs to be. The lowest that they'll fly is around 1,000 feet over an urban area and 500 feet over a rural area, but that's only the first 10 minutes of a flight. And since they average like 250 miles an hour up to 500 at out cruising altitude, and their designed engine parameters are for altitude, where they're cruising, where they spend most of their time consuming fuel, not at the ground, they're probably going to produce contrails at high altitude only, but they can produce it low to the ground too. Next, first 10 minutes of a flight of an airplane flying at 500 miles an hour. Let's make it 600 miles an hour to make the math easy because I'm lazy. Because reasons. So for the first 10 minutes, or 1/6 of an hour, see, the math is easier if it's 600 when it can't go that fast. Or, well, it shouldn't anyway. How many miles is that? About 100 miles. Right? Well, how far is it at 250 miles? Well, let's call it 240 so I can cheat. I'm not even bother. There's a very large range around the airport that an airplane could be under 1,000 feet, possibly. But they normally try to get to altitude as fast as they can because they have to. You can listen to the radios from the control tower telling them to get as high and as far away as possible because they want them out of their hair. Cross-hatch effect and plowed field effects are caused by the different planes flying in the same pathway or nearly the same pathway, and sometimes going north, south, east, west on what are called sometimes skyways. And the planes go this way, and another plane will go the opposite direction. It's not the same plane every time. And they go north and south, two different planes. And as the air might be moving this way or any other direction, it'll drag the contrails in a different pattern, and it'll seem like they're crisscrossing the sky to cover it. No, the wind is moving. If you set up a fixed observation point with 2 points pointing at the place that you got the X, you notice the X drifts. And the wind aloft, just like the temperature, doesn't have to match yours at low altitude. Invoking liberal versus conservative in any reply is an automatic, you don't want to discuss the subject. But then again, I did it because I'm doing it for effect. There is a strong tendency with certain people having a specific way of discussing subjects. And yes, liberals do have a tendency of discussing things a very specific way because they've kind of learned to emulate it. But one of the things that's kind of frightening is I'll get comments like, you science-based people are all dumb. But I can prove what I'm saying because I was involved in a project to literally set up a chase plane to follow a jet to see if it produced anything nasty. You weren't. And again, you can test this at ground level. You can test this on your own. You can actually acknowledge the 18-wheeler, 4 steps ahead of you that's going down the road, producing a trail in the air. They're producing a wake contrail. While working, I saw a plane leave an unpleasant trail. The temperature at ground level was 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Explain that, WAPTech. You want proof, you've got proof, WAP. Now, this video was posted in 2017. I probably posted a video response or something, but that was on a channel that got erased along with all the comments underneath. I only ran into this today because I was trying to find my channel's videos because I am having trouble doing so because YouTube and Google are deranking it. Great. Then another comment. Some other people commented back and explained to this person what they were seeing and asking them, why aren't you listening? I'm a landscaper. Please leave it for your liberal friends. I worked landscaping. I also was a greenskeeper at a golf course. That doesn't change anything. That's not anything to do with how the chemistry of an engine works, or a stove, or simply testing this. And yes, you can test it 60 times out of 60 and not get water droplets to form on the bottom of a pan on your stove, but eventually you will see that. You're not in the ideal conditions to do this any more than a car is at ground level. But if you do that, it will form condensation underneath a cold pan. It doesn't have to be water. And it will show you that water condenses from a fire. Planes don't make clouds. Maybe now they do, according to NASA. Planes have always caused this effect for a long time. And if you are seeing a contrail, it usually is an indication that you will also probably see ordinary cloud formation. Clouds do form out of nothing. They don't just have to roll in. They have to be generated from water condensation in the air. Also, jet aircraft or car engines can produce enough pollution to cause water droplets to form around them. This is something that's been understood for over 100 years. This isn't something from jets or from a conspiracy theory or the dumbed down, science-oriented supposed liberals that you're talking about. Some of these people, some of these comments are from other people, but I'm going to lump you all in because now you're lumping me in somehow. Since when does a plane fly overhead leaving a contrail, fly back, leaving another and another and another? Next thing you know, the skies are gray. I've explained that, but again, they're not trying to form a pattern. You can see this actually done. There are incidents where people have flown aircraft to try to form a flight pattern, but they may not be forming X trails in the air on purpose. And yes, you can actually have these happen at low and high altitude, I understand. But the point is, this is a big point, you have to show that this contains something negative, not just assume it does. And I'm sorry, but it's gotten to where it's this agonized, refuted 1,000 times argument. You're going to have to start over. Once you're part of a group of people that have been shown to be willing to just keep saying something that has never been true, you have to acknowledge that. You have to suck it up and say, okay, that's the way it is. I don't assume Al Gore is telling the truth about global warming. He's wrong. Doesn't mean he's lying necessarily, but he is wrong. And yeah, I think he does profiteer. Sorry, I have to agree now that I'm starting to think that. Not about what you think, though. Why are the trees dying? Why is my lawn and garden great? And then after a low spray, everything dies. Your wording, your vocabulary now includes conspiracy speak. They're spraying. No, they're just flying overhead. Why would they spray your house or anybody's property by getting as far away from it as fucking possible by getting 7 miles straight up? That's like deliberately firing a gun the opposite direction of what you're trying to hit. That doesn't make any fucking sense. If you're going to say spray, it should be done from a car. There are incidents of people spraying things from vehicles or going really low to the ground, like Agent Orange. You notice they didn't go higher because it wouldn't have worked very well. Nobody is trying to kill you. And if your lawn dies or the trees die, you might want to find out from somebody who knows what they're talking about. Don't look for somebody who's friendly to a conspiracy theory about contrails and chemtrails. I'm sorry your Democrats lost, but the global warming is being caused by this stuff, not prevented. This is based on the presumption that someone is spraying the air to try to prevent global warming by seeding clouds. Okay, but that would also cause it to rain more often. Is it raining more often? You're talking about the weather manipulation meme. Okay. So only the Democrats are doing it. But now Donald Trump is running the country, so it's his fault? Is your bias going to... Humor me and research HARP. It's not real, what you're talking about. Scalar waves, they don't exist the way you're talking about. You didn't research them. 5G, I've done 100 videos about it at this point. Every biological test they have done, you have to prove somebody was doing something. On unsuspecting Americans for decades, area assault, the stuff is not normal. Every one of you says it's not normal. You haven't gone out of the damn doors very often. Chemtrails sprayed planes attract moisture, creating these fake clouds. That's not what you guys used to say. You used to say it was containing boron and stuff. And then you invoke aluminum, which is one of the most common elements in the dirt on the ground is where you're getting it from. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. But this was a response to somebody's video a long time ago that was addressing me directly, and I'm not even sure if I really responded to it before, so I'll do it now. Why does this stubborn, ignorant bullshit make you feel empowered? This is easy to research. But don't look up science, right?